Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
We've been expecting you.
Monday, time for our maven of the supernatural, Denise Pridemore. This is the Paranormal Pride. Join to listen and chat live on WBHM-DB.com or Spreaker app. Search WBHM-DB every Monday at 7 p.m. Central for your supernatural paranormal fix. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride, where the show is about the guest and the listener.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and tonight I was going to have Dave Giuliano on, but about 5:30 tonight, I got a message from his wife saying that he's in the ER. So I'd like for everybody to, say a prayer for him, that everything works out okay, that it's not anything major. We are going to reschedule with Dave once we get back from vacation and everything. I'll try getting him scheduled again, because I think that that's going to be a fun interview. So, but instead tonight, I'm going to interview Kat, where we're going to talk. I don't know how it's going to turn out. She may end up interviewing me. Who knows how this is going to work out? and when we're together, it never works out the way we plan it. So tonight you're going to get to experience Kat Hobson and myself, and probably the kind of stuff that we talk about on the phone when you guys are not around. So hopefully you enjoy this. And if you don't know Kat, she is the voice of Fate Magazine Radio on Sunday nights here on WBHM-DB.com, as well as Paranormal Experience on Wednesday nights, both of those at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And she's also the producer of all the shows on this network. So she's a very busy woman, so I was lucky to have caught her, but I figured she wasn't doing anything anyway but listening to me. So here she is. So welcome, Kat.
Welcome back. Thank you for having me. And I do pray for Dave, because he is a really special person, and I love him and his wife. So I hope everything is just wonderful.
Yeah, like I said, when she sent me the message, the first thing is can he reschedule? And the first thing that came out was, of course.
Well, yes.
And then next, we'll be praying for you, because, I knew that he had had some health issues in the past. We're not going to get into his health issues. That's his thing. But, I'm just glad that they contacted me with at least a little bit of time. Because I was, we all know I've scattered for guests before.
We had all
at the last
for guests before.
And I just didn't want to leave next week's Labor Day weekend. We know that there's no show on Monday night because of Labor Day. So I didn't want to leave everybody for 2 weeks with no show. So you get to be the show tonight. And so it's going to be interesting, because I know a lot of people have heard you talk about, different things, but may not have put all those different things together, in one place before. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to put some things together in one place. So I hope you're up for that. So it's going to be all easy stuff for you.
From your mouth to God's ear, right?
No, it's always easy. That's the way I do the show. If it's not easy, then it's not fun.
Exactly. And yeah, we both love doing these shows.
Oh yeah, like I said, I didn't want to contact you and say, hey, there's not going to be a show tonight because my guest, has an emergency. I figured we'll come up with something. Got to all stay
Always
busy
come up
during.
with something.
Right, we can do something tonight. We're both having storms. For the last few days. I mean, you've got to be waterlogged by now.
I am waterlogged, and we are going to be getting even more. So I was coming out of the grocery store, which I love doing, and like leaving. I don't like shopping. So It was definitely an experience.
They're saying you're a little low for them. You sound great to me, but
bring me up, and there may be a little bit of clicking while I'm trying to do that. I don't want to make people crazy. I wasn't set for me to be talking, so I'm just having to make some little adjustments. So let's see if I can't do that right quick without getting right in somebody's ear. I hope that will eventually help.
Well, I just got a really nice note from Gary. A fundraiser that I did paid off.
Oh, how wonderful!
So that's good. And then every year we do a giving campaign at work, and their church happened to be available in my giving campaign. So they will be getting 50% of the funds that I give will be 100% of the funds they get 100% of the funds that I'm sending, but my company's matching it 50%.
Oh, that's cool.
That's the good news. The bad news is they have to wait till January 1st before they start seeing any money. Well, but it's still okay, something.
Though. I mean, it doesn't matter when it shows up. If you're doing a mission with it, you still just need to have it there.
Right, and that's the whole point, is that they'll know that it's coming in, and it'll also say when they get it who it's from, because a lot of the times those donations are anonymous. But I figured I'd take credit for it this time.
Why not?
When it's going to places like the United Way and stuff, I don't care if it's anonymous. They've got so many donors, but in this case, their little church does not have that many donors, so I just wanted to make sure that they were taken care of.
Well, I am so glad. And I'm glad that
I know.
Yeah, because you do an awful lot of stuff out in the world, and I think it's really great that you're out here actually doing these things.
Somebody has to.
Well, they do.
That's the thing. We've got all these things going on in the world right now that there's good and there's bad and there's evil and and there's halfway decent. As long as I fit into the halfway decent, I'm really happy.
Yes. Without any doubt.
But somehow, some way, we've got to counteract all this negativity that's out there.
Whether it's rampant. I mean, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. It just absolutely, it's just a terrible, terrible time to be seeing all these behaviors. We are not just a country in crisis. We are a globe in crisis. We are a world. And, for somebody to be going out and actively, I was listening to different stations, and these people are saying, well, I'm glad that fascist died, and, I want to put more bodies in the ground. We want to burn down the White House.
Yeah, I heard that.
That this is not appropriate behavior, and I really don't have anything that to me would be an issue. I just think it's awful that people are spreading such negativity because there already is so much that it doesn't need any help.
That's why one of the things that I tell Ron is I said I don't wear a mask when I'm out most of the time unless I absolutely have to.
Right.
But I wear a clear shield. And the reasoning is that you can't tell by somebody's eyes if they're smiling all the time or if they're being considerate of you. You you can just see their eyes, and sometimes you might think that they're rolling their eyes when in fact they just do that. They don't even realize it. So when I'm wearing the shield, I make sure that I'm smiling at people, not talking to them unless I absolutely have to, because again, it's only a shield. It's covering up everything it can, but I still don't really talk to them very much. But I try to at least be friendly. Like the other day at the grocery store, this woman, she was having trouble with her cart and she couldn't get it back to the corral. And it's like, here, I'll just take that. I didn't have gloves on. I didn't have hand sanitizer. I just took the cart from her so that she could get in her car and not stress out anymore. And she said, thank you. And it's like, I got in the store, I went and I washed my hands. It's not a big deal to be considerate to people, to be nice, to smile. Because all they're seeing is all this bad stuff all the time. So if I can't smile, then there's a problem. So even Saturday I had a migraine almost all day. Even when I was out, I still managed to smile at all the people. Nobody saw me, cross my eyes at them or anything like that, and that's the way it needs to be. We don't have to transfer all the negative things we see and hear to our environment.
I agree.
I don't know.
Do you remember a while back, it was almost like a joke, but people were already getting their noses out of joint. Everybody has been mad at each other and fussing and cussing since 2016. Mm-hmm. And I kept making the joke that it's just like New York and Ghostbusters 2 when all the goo was running under the roads. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like everybody has lost their collective mind. They are, they're just being negative because it's the thing. And, I think that I really do. I try to be Switzerland because there's so much angst and so much pain on all sides of the fence. It's just bizarre. But, I think that the tone was set when, and I'm going to say this, when Hillary Clinton didn't have the gumption, didn't have the care for her, her people, everybody was hurting. Everybody who voted for her was hurting. And she stayed up in her room and she licked her wounds instead of coming down to commiserate with the people that tried so very hard to put her in the White House.
Yeah.
She didn't even have the compassion, care, or concern for them to do that. And from that point on, I would never, ever vote for someone like her again. And, it's just, and I'm a libertarian. I just think that it's an interesting way for an adult to act. But since then, all these people are acting just like that. They're taking their toys and going home, or they're mad that nobody, it's just juvenile. All of this started as juvenile behavior, but now they have very adult weapons, and they are using them.
Yep.
And that's tragic.
Yeah, it just, when I saw that, we stayed up.
I stayed up. It was my country's election.
Right. We stayed up and we were watching it, and the only thing I could say is, lick your wounds in private, but come out still proud of the fight.
Yes, because that was a tremendous battle, and
it made all these people, they decided they had to lick her wounds for her. Basically, is how I saw it, and I don't know. I just wish that people could be adult, and that's not what we're seeing right now in our nation. We're hearing, we hear about the cancel culture. We hear about all these different things. And then you got this virus on top of it that they come out finally, over the weekend and say, no, it wasn't 146,000 people that died from coronavirus. It was only 9,000. We're not hearing that. The CDC corrected their numbers. People need to understand it's not as deadly as, yes, it's deadly if you have underlying health conditions. If you're old. In fact, I'm going to say this. I'm 55. I'm in the part that they're saying is, most likely to get it and die from it. Between my underlying health conditions from my lung, which I'm actually very healthy. I just got a lung issue. Ron's age as well. We're in that area to where we should be concerned, but we're not. If we're meant to go, we're meant to go.
Well, that's no matter what. I mean,
mm-hmm.
If you dodge the bullet and you don't get, the COVID, then
yep.
You can still step in front of a bus tomorrow.
That's right.
Somebody can be on their phone and hit you. I mean, there's so many things that are an issue. And if you're hiding, and I had to come to this, I had to kind of come to Jesus moment, because I too have underlying health conditions that make me a fairly
susceptible
target. And I just don't go out very much anyway, because I'm writing a book. I'm home. I'm acting like some sort of homebound person. I'm not homebound, but I am staying home because I have things to do here.
Right.
And at first it was a fear factor. There was definitely some of that there, because my husband is older than I am. And so I try to not do anything to get either of us in trouble.
Right. Well, I understand that, because your husband's runs an essential business.
Yeah, and he has been out in it from the get-go.
Same as Ron. Ron has been out in it. And Ron's in all the Walmarts, all the Kroger type stores. We have Dillon's instead of Kroger here, and CVS's. These are all places that people go because they're sick, because they got pharmacies.
Right.
They put their nasty sticky money into those machines, and he has to be the one to clean it up. So needless to say, he should have been wearing masks and gloves a long time ago, based on the stuff that I've seen. So I know that Ron could have brought something home to us. But again, you and I have talked about this before. We both think that we've had it last year, the end of last year, beginning of this year. Yeah, me too. The question is, when are they going to check for antibodies? I don't think they are. I don't think that.
Well, they're giving that to somebody, right? Because somebody has them.
Right. And in our area, in our county, from the beginning of this to now, we have less than 200 cases total. Nobody's died. So basically, we have a flu epidemic in our area. That's it.
Well, I don't.
And it's not even an epidemic. Right.
We have dead
you
people.
You have a big city.
Yeah.
The closest big city to us is Overland Park. Where do I shop? Overland Park. They have over 8,000 cases up there. I don't know how many have died. I think our state has less than 400 dead, the whole state. But we're now in one of the states where we're in the top 6 states that they say you got to quarantine from. Well, if you go to. And it's like, no. If you go to Wichita or Kansas City, then yes. Anywhere else, you're probably fine. I don't know how they
couldn't go to Eastern State for a private investigation, because I was banned from Kentucky and Ohio, and I actually thought up all these illicit ways that I could manage to get there driving through those states. But you know what? If I got pulled over and both states going and both states coming, that would be 2 months. that I would have to be quarantined, and it is not in the place of your choice. You are quarantined by them. It is not an honor system.
You're quarantined by me now because we're at the break. We're listening. Right. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Kat Hobson after this message.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Kat Hobson, and I just so happy to be talking to her because I don't really have to shield myself from anything on this show.
No, you don't.
I can say what I want as long as I keep it PG-13, we're good. And usually I don't talk above PG-13 unless I'm really irritated. So I'm not irritated tonight. So what we were talking about, the virus and all this stuff. So to another part of that, because we were talking about quarantine. Because of quarantine, a lot of the places that we all like to frequent, we can't go. They can't have events and all that stuff. And you were saying that there was an event you had wanted to go to that you couldn't. It was a private investigation in Pennsylvania.
No,
in
Ohio.
In Ohio. Yeah, well, I know that there was a lot of people that were wanting to hit that one in May, right as they shut everything down.
For that con.
Yeah.
Well, that was yes. But this was a private one with like
Right.
8 people. And,
Which would be great with the size of that place.
yes.
And
It's so active.
And I understand, because the event that I wanted to go to, well, every event I've wanted to go to this year has been canceled, including now the Van Meter Festival was just canceled yesterday. Yeah, because
I thought that was
Iowa,
open air.
it is, but because Iowa had a spike, they canceled the event.
Oh, that just is terrible.
So they canceled it 4 weeks before. So at least they gave us all a heads up. And I feel bad, because I know how much, so I think it was only like the third or fourth one, but people really enjoyed it because it was one of those events where you can really talk to people. There's not a ton of people there, so you really get to walk around and talk to all the that's how I met Nash Hoover and Jay.
Oh, I remember that. Yes, and Bigfoot Jay.
And yep, Bigfoot Jay, Finding Bigfoot Jay. No, it was something like that. I met him though. We talked for a little bit, and I met Linda Godfrey there.
See, I would love to do face to face with her. I have not yet.
And so that was, well, then of course, then there was Kelly Steffen was there,
Yes.
and we get to visit with her and her mom and her husband and Matt, of course. Now suddenly I've gone blank. Matt Bennett and his whole team. I got to visit with all of them, and of course I got to see Josh Hurd and Nathan. I got Nathan's book. Can't remember his last name, but I love Nathan. He's great, and so is his wife. And I had on a bunch of people that I met from that event on the show. And the only reason I could do that was because I got to actually walk up to them and talk to them at length, because it wasn't like it was so overcrowded to where they were not listening to the next person who's behind me, or wanting to move me on so they can talk to the next person. So it was a nice event in a little place, well, a little open air area there that was fun. But because of COVID, we got another thing that's gone. But in this meantime, I know some people have been out and investigating in places where they could, in places that still weren't shut down, or you could at least do a private event. How do you think that the activity is going to be when everything opens up some more?
I think it's going to be off the chain, because humans are social creatures. Human spirits are also social creatures. I think that I know that I get a lot of interaction. You get a lot of interaction. And I like that. I know that the people that went to Mansfield, they all had so much fun. And they got so much activity. They had it on every device that they were using. The psychics were being validated through the responses. And I think it's just really, I think it's going to be that way everywhere. I know that at one point in time, everything in my house was going strong. And they seem to have mellowed down somewhat now. But, and I'm good with that, because I can't get anything done, right?
Well,
when
yeah.
my house is rocking, I can't get anything done. And I think it's just going to be that way everywhere. I know that South Pittsburgh has been off the chain. There have been events there. Ronnie's doing great with his numbers as far as keeping them manageable so that social distancing is possible. And there's a group that's going up to Willow's Weep in October. Mm-hmm. And I had really wanted to go with them, but I don't want to pay for something again that I'm not going to be able to go do. And then I would feel terrible,
Well, believe me, I'd like to do the Willow's Weep thing too, especially since I've met Dave personally.
And he is a great person. I've met him also.
He is.
I've met him at the Battlefield Bash both years. He is such a nice man. And it's supposed to be so active.
Yeah. We gave him a tour at the Sally House.
Did you now? I wish
Yes.
you'd given me a tour at the Sally House.
Well, you're not. Well, it ain't going to happen now.
I know, right?
but but yeah, it was him and another person that he came with. They came all the way across the country. They went to Villisca and the Sally House and a few other places along the way. And like I said, I love Dave. Ron likes him. You know, we had a great time when we were visiting with them, and and that was despite somebody else telling me that I needed to avoid him.
Really?
And it's like, yep. Actually, this person told me to avoid both those people that I had met that day, and I'm good friends with both of them. And I refuse to let someone tell me who my friends need to be.
Well, because you know what? I'm going to tell you, at any given moment, I may be having a moment, right?
Yep.
It just is one of those things that everybody has, an issue at times, but you don't judge somebody, period, because you are not walking in those shoes. You don't know what's going on in their life. And to sit there and actually say that about someone, I think that's tacky.
It was, and I've told my husband, I said, I'm not in high school. I said, I'm not going to play these games. I'm not going to play these games. If somebody's going to unfriend me because of who my friends are, that's fine. But I cannot change who I like. Now if I didn't like them, it'd be a whole different ball game, but I can't let other people's ideas of who is a good person and who isn't a good person rule who I'm friends with.
Oh, girl. And it's so terrible because it applies on the social media thing too. Mm-hmm. Because I am a libertarian. I have always been a libertarian. I had someone that I really like and admire and think is probably one of the strongest people I know who said something about, oh, you really like Trump. Go ahead and come out and say it. I was like, I like what he's doing now. I am a libertarian. I do not want all of my everything running through the government. I make my money. I go home with my money. I do what I want to with my money.
That's how it needs to be.
And, everybody can get up and do something. Not everybody is going to have the same success factor because the opportunities are hard to come by. You have to really work for them.
Yep.
But,
and no matter who you are.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I have been home. What is that? Store brand macaroni and cheese broke, girl.
Oh,
and, it's just the way it is. And it was paying my dues as I was coming up corporately.
Yeah, one of the things that I told somebody is that when I was growing up, we had brains and eggs for dinner. We had beans probably 7 to 8 nights a month. We ate good. We got our Social Security check after my dad died. We got that on the 3rd of the month, and in 2 weeks, pretty much all the food that my mom was able to get on that, because we were not able to get food stamps because we got Social Security. We still had rent, gas, electric, water. We didn't have cable, thank God, or internet, but we did have all these other things, and we ate. I mean, it took me years before I could make beans in my own home without feeling like I was poor. My mom made homemade biscuits almost every meal. If there were biscuits left over, guess what we had for lunch? We had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on those biscuits. She might make new biscuits at dinner, and I'm not even kidding. When I told somebody the other day that we had potted meat with sandwich spread, it was a big deal. So I see potted meat on the shelf, and it's like, oh, I can't do it. And and here I am now, I make a lot of my own food. I make my own jellies and jams and I can my own stuff. My mom did all that stuff too. but it was out of necessity. I do it out of, I think, more out of respect for what my mom and my grandparents went through raising us. But when I first got married the first time, our meals were bologna and cheese or peanut butter and jelly for probably the first 2 months that I lived in Arkansas.
Wow.
I was really regretting the decision I made.
True.
To stand up to my mother and tell her this is what I want. And really, I guess I didn't know what I wanted. But, I always tell everybody that decision that I made at that time was the decision that got me to where I am now.
Oh, exactly.
If I hadn't married my first husband, I never would have met Ron. It was the thing that got us to this point. So all of that stuff that we've all done, being poor, being, destitute, it all made us stronger.
Oh,
made
absolutely.
us all it made us have the desires that we have to do better than what we could have done before. And if it hadn't been for the fact that I quit high school to be married, I don't know what I would have done with my life if I hadn't figured out that I need to have a high school diploma. I graduated before my graduating class. Okay. A month before my graduating class, I actually graduated.
Of course you did. Have you met you?
And yeah, I know me. But I mean, I had that ex-husband there telling me the whole time how stupid I was, how, that I would never do anything with my life and all this other stuff. Proved him wrong. But, I have a bachelor's degree in business now. I am the exception to that rule that they say if you don't finish high school, you're not going to be anything. If you don't get at least your GED, you'll never get a halfway decent job. Not only did I quit, I got my GED and I went to college, which is all unusual. Thing is my mom and my sister both did the same things.
Really?
Yep.
That's interesting.
But I got to be successful. That's the only difference.
Success
I feel bad.
is a good thing because you have to work for it and you appreciate the things that you gain by it.
I always told my mom, I said it was her choice of where she lived. She could have been a lot more successful if she didn't live in that tiny coal mining town in Kentucky. My sister still lives there. It's the home of the $8 an hour job. It's not what you want after you've paid to go to college.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So, a lot of those people die with student loans. My mother was one. I hope to pay all mine off. And I should be within the next 4 years. But that's because of how Ron and I are. We're narrowly focused on what we want for the future. But you already know that. Then we're narrowly focused on what we want for the future. But we also are not so narrowly focused to where we can't see that there's little roads off to the side of that road to the future that we could take too. So, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But we are coming your way in October of this year. We're going to be going down and checking out the safest town in Alabama, which is Daphne, and the fastest growing town, Fairhope, in both of those in Alabama. And probably some areas in Foley.
Are you sure those aren't backwards?
No, I'm 100% right.
Interesting. I would have thought that was the other way because Daphne is just growing by leaps and bounds.
I know. That's what I thought. And then I did a little bit more research and they said, nope, Fairhope is the fastest growing town in the state of Alabama.
That's so bizarre.
I think they're starting to overrun each other is what's probably happening.
Well, they're very close. I mean, you turn down a highway and you're in, if you're in Daphne, you just turn down a road and boom, you're in Fairhope. So I still think that Fairhope is the prettiest, to me, it's the most walkable beach town I've ever seen. I love it. The downtown area is great. They've got a little theater. They've got all kinds of things.
Well, the main thing is at least if we move down that way, people come visit us.
That's true. So you need to have a big house because they will come.
I told Ron, I said, that's the thing. I said, usually when people get to our stage, they're moving into another home, and we were walking around the lake, and he goes, almost all these houses over here, they're all huge. He goes, only have 2 people live in them.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want to move into a bigger house. We have 2,200 square feet. I don't need 2,200 square feet, but I'm looking at a ranch house, so I may end up with 1,700 square feet with the same amount of rooms as I have now.
Possible. Yeah.
So, and, we're not looking just at new houses. We're looking at used house, older homes as well. But, right now, this trip is going to be to not really look at homes, but to look at the area to see if it's a good place to bring our grandkids to visit, for them to come and stay with us for more than a week, and we can keep them busy.
Well, you can do that there.
And we also like the fact that, the thing is that it's not too far from 2 to 3 airports, 4 if we had to go up to Birmingham, so we got multiple airports in any direction that we could fly out of, so we could look for good deals to fly to Vegas.
Oh, yes, you could. And you could get a great deal out of Pensacola or Mobile.
And Pensacola Airport is so nice.
It's so pretty.
It is.
And they had the painted pelicans there.
Yes. They also had, they have a Whataburger right near the airport.
Yes, they do.
But, of course, there's one right there in Foley. If I lived there, I wouldn't be hunting one down all the time.
That's true. We did get a Whataburger down there. We also...
It's right on the highway.
They had the highway closed. They had the police. It's so funny because my place is Gulf Shores, and they had traffic stopped in the right-hand lane, and I was coming through there, and I couldn't figure out what was happening. Well, it was the opening of Popeye's Chicken.
Oh, well, then Ron will be extremely happy.
Yes.
But at that, we've got to go to our next break. So everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you have any questions for me or Kat, please put them in the chat, and I will make sure that they get asked and answered. And I hope you guys enjoy your evening listening to me and Kat just jibber jabber on. So we'll be back in a couple minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Kat Hobson. So we're going to talk about some more stuff. But if you guys have any topics you want us to talk about, let us know. We're up for it. I guarantee it. We'll talk about anything all night long. So, but I know that we both have been. Well, you have a house down there in Gulf Shores. We've been to Gulf Shores. We did a vacation down there one year, and we did Dauphin Island. So, like I said, I think that we're prepared for whatever it is we're going to come across on the eastern shore of Mobile Bay.
I would think so. Yes.
I think so. I mean, and growing up, it seems to me like it's going to be much like the growing up that I did off the Chesapeake Bay.
I think it will be similar. I'm not sure because it gets cold in Virginia, doesn't it? Or does that marine environment around the Chesapeake Bay keep that kind of temperate?
Well, I was in the Baltimore area of the Chesapeake Bay, so it would actually freeze solid. So
gracious.
That's the good part. There would be no freezing of the water down there. Our water would freeze so densely that you could drive cars on it.
Oh my gosh! Mm-hmm. Now see, that just is not a beach.
No, not a beach. But could always get. We had crabs almost all year long. So that was one of the few things that's one of the things that I truly miss. I miss having a crab feast. It's never a day goes by where I don't think about, our newspaper tablecloths and crabs in Old Bay all over the place. Even though our crabs are smaller than what people think a crab should be and a lot of work, but it was always the thing that I couldn't wait for was, in August we would have a big crab feast at my grandmother's house because we had more birthdays in August than we did any other month. And so we would always have this big feast and it was great. We knew, you didn't eat crab. If you couldn't clean it, you couldn't eat it. So that meant if you were little, you better have figured it out really fast, or you didn't eat. Same as shrimp. I love shrimp. When we went to Dauphin Island, Dara and her family had never had shrimp cooked like that, and we had went to Bayou La Batterie and bought shrimp and brought it back.
You cannot beat Bayou La Batterie, of course. No. If you if you get down far enough to be close to us, there's a bunch of fisheries out on County Road 10 that will hook you up. I like to stop with a cooler on my way back up.
I think there was a place that I saw that was off the highway. You made a right and you went down this road. We didn't go down there, but I knew that they sold a bunch of seafood down there because I'd seen, I was looking for fresh seafood when we were there. Mm-hmm. If we hadn't been staying in the microtel, if we'd have been staying someplace where they had a pot for me to cook in, I'd have been making my own. But I did eat at a lovely restaurant there where Smith's is. Is it Smith's? No, the grocery store there, not far from your house. Starts with an R.
Rouse's?
Yeah, Rouse's. Mm-hmm. There's a little place in there. It had a whole bunch of local license plates in the parking lot.
Yes.
So I said, let's go here. They gave us so much food, it was pitiful. But, that's what I look for when we go someplace. Are there local license plates at this restaurant? Because the other place that we tried to go to was so packed we couldn't get in. It was kind of like Margaritaville. In fact, I think it was owned by his wife or something like that.
Lulu's and Homeport Marina is part of that.
Yeah.
But yes, that's actually owned by Lucy Buffett, who is his sister, and she still lives in the area. So
well, the only reason that we decided to try it was because Ron calls me Lulu.
Yes.
So I figured, well, we might as well try it. We couldn't even get a seat.
Well, you have to kind of pay attention because I do not go there during like regular meal times.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a child, like, if your grandchildren come down, that is a must. It is the most kid-friendly restaurant. They are fantastic with food allergies. They are, if you, like, I have a gluten allergy. And, their manager comes to take my order and walks my order all the way through the kitchen back to my table. They are dead serious about food allergies and things like that. It's a great place for kids. They have toys. They have a rope course. It's and I did it the day it opened, and it was awesome. But it is a good place, and that's why we chose Gulf Shores, because it is so family friendly, and our kids were younger. Now,
Well,
my kids' friends are having kids, so and my kids are too. But
I know about that.
yeah,
So, because this year we're getting at least one, hopefully one grandchild this year, or in 2021. So, just hope that it all works out, that it's in the cards, So,
well, you were told
and
that.
I know. In fact, I still have to go and pull that out of there for Rhonda here, because he could only hear my side that night, because I had to put my headsets on and stuff to call in, and so he didn't get to hear any of it. So that will be good, and I don't know if I should let Lindsay hear it or not. At least not until the baby comes.
Probably not. Yeah, I would do a not.
Yeah, that's my thought, is wait till the baby comes and then maybe let her hear part of it. Not all of it.
Right.
There's part of it I don't think she needs to ever hear. But it was that your guest that night was so authentic.
He was. And it was just purely conversational. I do not do a lot with psychics per se. And here I am. I've had 2 back-to-back who were doing free readings on the air. And it was kind of trippy, because when I got through with the shows, you always sit there and spend a little bit of time with them before they go. And I actually got a reading, kind of, but afterwards, when I woke up the next morning, I had just a beautiful message that it blew me away. It just was so kind. And I thought, well, you know what? Thank you so much, because you're totally right about what you said, but nobody's ever put it to me that way. So that was an interesting point in time. I enjoyed that. And he was very truthful with you too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and the only thing is since you know me, you knew what was
I was dying.
was right on, and the things that they're real. I don't remember if there was anything that was not right on.
There was not. Wait, there was one thing about midway through. But, and for the record, the gentleman of which we're speaking is Robert Lindsay Milne, and he is my August 16th archive show. And you can hear that on, well, really anywhere that has podcasting, or iHeart, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Stitch. Oh my gosh, there's so many. We're on we're actually now on the largest service in India. So I am getting friended by a lot of people from India because they're hearing our shows now. So if you've noticed an uptick in those names, yes. If you're getting an uptake and people reaching out to you who live in various parts of India, that's why. I love that. We are so fortunate with.
So we're everywhere.
We are everywhere. And we're getting in more spots too. I think it's just beautiful.
It is. And it's all because of the good energy that we're putting out there, and we're not doing anything negative at all.
Well, we don't do negative. You're right.
No, I don't like that. And we want everybody out there to know that we want to hear what they have to say. And that's one of the things that our shows pride ourselves on, is that we make our audience part of the show.
Yes. And that's
However
a big
we can.
deal. To me, that's a very big deal.
To me, it's been the number one thing, because I know that there were shows that in the beginning, I used to listen to a lot of different shows trying to get ideas on how to do this, because I didn't know. So I would listen to other shows, and I would ask questions in their chats, and they fell on deaf ears.
I know.
Guess who didn't go back?
Right?
Guess who didn't go back? I didn't want to go back. And so if people ask me, can you recommend a show? I'm going to tell them, you find a show that you like, that the people interact with you, that will answer your questions, will, speak back to you, because otherwise,
that appreciate that you're there.
Yeah. And that's the one thing, we always appreciate it. We may not always say it, but we try to make every show about each and every one of our listeners, so that they can feel like they're part of our family.
Yes.
So, but that's how Carl found me. Carl found me. He asked me a question, and I answered it right away. Or at least asked the question right away and got an answer to him right away,
right.
On the air. And that's important, because you don't always have access to the people that we get to have access to. So asking those questions.
Well, a case in point would be someone like, Dave Giuliano, who I'm filling in for tonight, because, and don't forget to pray for him, because chest pains and things of that nature are scary things. But, Dave Giuliano had the original paranormal webpage, the Shadowlands.
Right.
He is a demonologist. He knows things that most other people, well, actually, he's probably forgotten things that most other people do not know. And because he put the time in, he was doing this when nobody else was, as far as reaching out to the public, providing educational opportunities, providing, ideas about what to do to help yourself. And he would travel to go and help other people. I think he is probably one of my favorite people who are straight up paranormal on the planet. And he's very quiet about it now. He's there if you need him, but he is just quiet about it. So I admire him a lot.
One of the people that reached out to me, Janice, she said, I bought 85% of my equipment from him, from the Ghost Hunter store. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And then I had to tell her, so sorry, but he had to cancel tonight because he wasn't feeling well. And so I was like, oh, I feel so bad that, it was somebody that she really wanted to hear from, but she couldn't. So,
well, he'll reschedule. He is, like I said, he is all about education, and he enjoys those opportunities. So I know that you'll get him back.
I'm just concerned about his health right now. And, you know what? It may be a better time to have him on in, say, October, November, when people aren't actually out and about, enjoying themselves with the beautiful weather.
Well, yes.
Whether it's beautiful or not, because I've noticed that that's the one thing that did change from the coronavirus is people are out and about. Not really on the highways or in the stores, but they were in the stores.
Just enjoying themselves.
They were out buying all the fishing rods and all the bicycles and, all that stuff. That's all gone. If you want a bicycle from our Walmart, you're not getting one. Same as you're not getting a fishing rod. But I know we went for a walk the other night around the lake over here, and we saw more people out fishing in the dark than I've ever seen. But who knows? But
That's
you know
one
what?
of my
We
favorite
gotta,
songs, too.
well, Alabama, why not?
Absolutely.
You know what? We're at the top of the hour break. So, yeah, everybody get your questions in there. We'll get them answered. And we'll be back with Kat Hobson in just a few minutes. Enjoy the news or not. And you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Live from NPR News, I'm Jack Spear. Oregon State Police will now help patrol nightly protests in the city of Portland, along with police from neighboring communities in an effort to halt recent violence there. The plan outlined over the weekend by Oregon Governor Kate Brown. Those patrols are seeking to deal with escalating vandalism and violence. It's after an apparent right-wing Trump supporter identified as 39-year-old Aaron J. Danielson was killed as the city approaches 100 consecutive nights of demonstrations following the killing of George Floyd by police. The Wisconsin State Legislature convened today for 30 seconds for a special session. Policing in the state in response to police shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin last week. Wisconsin Public Radio's Laura White reports there were no debate and no vote.
Democratic Governor Tony Evers called the special session for today less than 24 hours after police shot and seriously wounded Blake. The governor has proposed bills that would ban police use of chokeholds and no-knock warrants. But the Republicans who control the state legislature say they won't have debate or votes today. They say they need more time to review the proposals and write their own bills. Speaking at a press conference in Kenosha late last week, Evers said lawmakers need to act now.
We have to show the people of the state of Wisconsin that the political leadership in the state care about this issue.
The governor has the power to call a special session, but he can't force lawmakers to take any action during it. For NPR News, I'm Laurel White in Madison.
The House Oversight Committee says it plans to subpoena Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. The committee indicating it wants documents pertaining to disruptions in mail delivery operations and other operational changes. Committee Chairwoman, New York Democrat Carolyn Maloney, saying today DeJoy blew past a deadline to fully respond to the committee's request for more information. She says it's clear a subpoena has become necessary. Shares in electric automaker Tesla soared by more than 12% today after the company implemented a stock split. More from NPR's Camila Dominowski.
It was this January, this year, 2020, that Tesla hit $500 for the first time. On Friday, Tesla stock cost more than $2,200. You didn't need $2,000 to invest in Tesla. These days, investors can buy partial shares. Still, the company decided to bring the price of a whole share down to more reasonable territory through a stock split. If you owned a single share of Tesla on Friday, then come Monday morning, you owned 5 shares, each worth 1/5 as much. Hypothetically, the company's value should stay the same. But markets aren't always rational. And at this new price, investors went on a Tesla buying spree. Apple, which also split its stock, went up 3%. Camila Dominowski, NPR News.
A mixed close on Wall Street. The Dow was down 223 points today. The Nasdaq closed up 79 points. You're listening to NPR. Washington, D.C. forcefully cleared a crowd of protesters near the White House early this morning. As Eliza Burkhan from member station WAMU reports, it was the second consecutive night of clashes between activists and law enforcement.
Just after midnight, police officers deployed chemical irritants to disperse a crowd of about 100 protesters and made more than a dozen arrests. D.C. police say they responded after some protesters volleyed urine-filled balloons and bricks. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says protesters from outside D.C. were partially responsible for the intensity of the confrontations and that the city is committed to reducing violence.
What we're certainly not going to do is stand by and allow outside agitators to come to our city to distract us from the work of D.C. residents.
D.C. police and the FBI are investigating whether violent demonstrators are backed by any outside groups. For NPR News, I'm Eliza Burkhan in Washington.
Restrictions around the coronavirus and COVID-19 are starting to ease somewhat in parts of South Florida. In Miami-Dade County, restaurants were allowed to welcome back diners to indoor seating starting today for the first time in nearly 2 months. Those require that masks be worn and establishments have just 50% occupancy. Most indoor dining has been banned in that part of the state since July in order to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Meanwhile, President Trump's new pandemic advisor, Dr. Scott Atlas, says infections and deaths are starting to decline in some of the hardest hit states like Florida. Crude oil futures prices closed lower today, oil ending the session down 36 cents a barrel to close at $42.61 a barrel in New York. I'm Jack Spear, NPR News.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Kat Hobson, and we are having a fun time just talking about everything that we possibly can. So we only have another hour left, so keep that in mind. If you have any questions, any topics you want us to discuss, we're more than willing to do it. So we like to talk, apparently. So it is.
It is. It's
exactly
what we do every week. So, and
the thing
we're
is,
not usually the ones being interviewed that often, comparatively speaking, so it's fun.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes, what's really bad is that we don't get to, you guys don't know this, but we visit before the show, but not long before the show. And sometimes after the show, the dogs need to be let out.
Or shaken.
Or shaken. Or I need to go back to work, which is bad. I mean, the show gets over at 9:00 at night. And a lot of times I'm telling Kat, I'm sorry, I got to go. I got more work to do to get ready to go on vacation, which is how it's been for the last month, and, I got less work tonight, but since we've been on the phone, I just noticed that I had 3 more emails of stuff that people want me to do before I leave. And, tomorrow night's my last night to work.
Well, I was going to say you're leaving Wednesday, right?
Yeah, we're leaving Wednesday morning, and I will work in the car where I can. But if I don't have internet, can't work. And, going through I'm thinking between Dodge City, Kansas and Las Vegas, New Mexico, I'm going to say there's probably not a lot of internet service.
There's not a lot of internet service anywhere once you get, well, they're trying to fix that, but it's not so much. There's nothing between like Williams, Arizona and the actual,
It's all good. We love the Kylie the Wonder Dog. Really,
Kylie the Wonder Lab is making herself known,
yes.
And actually, you said it first, so you get her for a week at your place.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Well, does she like the round up 5 cats? She might wake them up. She might wake them up. So, but so between Williams, Arizona, and where?
Well, Williams, Arizona, and the Grand Canyon, which, yeah, I took the train the first time I ever did that. It was so amazing. But, and if you get a chance to ever ride the Grand Canyon Railroad, you have to do it. It is so much fun. And it's not nearly as hokey as you would think it is, but it's just wonderful. So there's that.
We've talked about doing that, having the kids meet us down in Williams instead of, and then we drive up to Vegas from there, but have the kids meet us because our son-in-law, who's lived in Vegas almost his whole life, has never been to the Grand Canyon. And,
there is
the South Rim
wrong
is only
with that picture.
Yeah, they only
That's
live
terrible.
100 miles from the West Rim. So there's a road off of 95 or 93 that you can just take. It takes you right. I mean, it's the part that's run by the, can't say, the Indians.
Is it where the
starts with
Skywalk
the H.
is? The end where the...
I think so.
Yes.
Where the Hananupai
Yes.
Indians, that's their part of the park. And so it's not run by the United States Park Service. And, but yeah, we've changed our trip around a little bit. We're going to Dodge City to Las Vegas, to Gallup. We're going to stay in the El Rancho Hotel, which is haunted as well as historic. And, we're going to stay in the Plaza Hotel in Las Vegas, New Mexico, also haunted. Don't know where we're staying in Dodge City yet. It depends on what's going on there. So, but I don't know, times and all that. So we're going to really enjoy the time that we get to spend in all these places. There's a nice walking tour in Dodge City that we're going to take ourselves on. And, the Boot Hill Distillery, we're going to check it out.
You
got to
love
check out the
those.
spirits. I like the history that's behind them. Apparently, the Boot Hill Distillery, again, which is strange. You hear these stories all the time. Every town in Kansas seems to have one. The first town cemetery was here at this location where the Boot Hill Cemetery is, and the town thought that that land was too good to be used to burying dead cowboys, that they decided to move all the graves.
Oh dear.
And it's like, I hear this all the time. I mean, in Kansas, you hear it all the time. And so far, I found that sometimes it's not true. It's just a good story. And it's where the Boot Hill Distillery is. It was once city administration buildings. It was a school. It was something else. And now it's a distillery. So I have a feeling that they're going to tell us that they're haunted when we get there. But, why not? And they have a lot of memorials through town for people that were on Gunsmoke.
Really?
Go back to our kids. Yeah, they got Matt Dillon.
That's interesting.
Because, that show was actually based in Dodge City, but yet never was filmed there. It was all filmed on a Hollywood soundstage. But and Dennis Hopper he's from out there, and he has a statue there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either until I started trying to figure out what we were going to do along the way. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see all these places I've never seen before. But again, I've been to Williams before, and I figured I could at least keep busy there.
I like Williams. Williams is a fun place.
I did find an ice cream place that I'm going to make Ron stop at. It's between Williams and Vegas. So that morning after we leave Williams, I'm going to make him take me for ice cream.
Well, I'm going to tell you that is where we actually ran into, and it was just like the pictures of the gulag, not the gulags, but the places where you have border crossings with, Nazis that were fighting to keep you away from being able to escape them. It was actually very strange. We were coming back to Vegas from Williams. We had gone up through Pace to do the canyons, and then gone on over to stay at the Tolliver, and then come back around going back to Vegas. And it was so weird. We missed our branch, right, going back to Vegas. Got to the California line. We were like a good ways, like 300 miles, I think, or 325 from Baker. But it was the Arizona, California state line. They had permanent structure with armed guards, armed state patrol, I guess, manning them. And they wanted to know why we wanted to go into California. What was our business in California? And I'm like, shouldn't you be on the southern border? I mean, really? This is weird. It was so weird. And it wasn't like a one-time deal. Like I said, it was a permanent structure. And nobody from California that I've ever spoken with has even known that that happens. So I'm like, I can come in without documentation on the southern end, but up here, between state to state, then, I got to show papers or at least a need to go. This is crazy.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, nobody's dying to get into California.
No.
I mean, not anybody from here. I love California, actually. I've spent some time there, but that was really a shock. And, we just told him we missed our turn. We're trying to get back to Vegas. And he said, well, come through here and take that right turn, and it will take you up through the Mojave. I was like, great. So, because I love the Mojave Desert.
We drove through. Well, we went one time from Vegas to San Diego, and we took Leah because she wanted to see the ocean, and we had flown in. And so when we fly in, we tend to do a little bit more driving around there. When we drive there, we tend to do less driving in Vegas and more driving to get there, because 1,400 miles is a lot of miles. We do have a question in chat. April asks, I've heard me ask guests if they've ever had attachments. Have either of you had an attachment, and how did you get rid of it?
I have. Have you?
I'm told that I did.
Right.
When I was doing all the Sally House stuff, that I had an attachment, and that was from Chuck Banks. First time he met me. He told me that.
Well, mine was, I was doing a private investigation at a home, and the energy was wonky. Everything was wonky. There were elementals that were upset because the homeowner sat on her porch and shot fox from her porch as they came, trustingly out of the woods, and she taxidermied them and kept them in her house. So there were a lot of things that were going on there. She had been, as she put it, a graveyard stomper for all of her life, played with a Ouija board, done all the things that I personally ask people to not do. And because it's never a good idea to let something that you have no idea what it is have control of you. I have a problem with that human pendulum project too, but that's another story. But one of the people with us was doing Reiki on this woman, and he had the ability to do it. He didn't have the knowledge to do it safely at that point. And I felt something just slam on my elbow. And it felt like one of those, I call them prickly pears. They're the things that come down out of trees that have, the chestnut trees that have the little spiky balls.
Oh, the sugar, sweet gum balls.
Yeah.
They're horrible.
That's what it felt. Yes. That's what it felt like. It just slammed into my elbow. And I was looking and I didn't see anything. And I was very upset because as I'm turning around looking, I see him fixing to do it again. And he was cleansing her energy, but instead of slinging it to the ground, he was just slinging his hands to the side. And I was just like, stop. And he looked at me. I said, that goes to the ground. You just stuck something to me, and I can't get a shield under it. And so, whatever this is, I'm at a loss for what to do because I shield so well. I don't normally have to do anything else, right? So I don't know what to do. And one of the guys that that team considered a mentor, I do not, but that's another world. Was like, well, take your shoes off. Get your feet on the ground. You need to ground. And I'm like, I'm doing that. I am grounded, and I still can't shake it. So when I got home, I actually, Facebooked with a friend and said, this happened. I know that you read my energy really well. We're very connected. I need to know what this is, and I need help getting it off because I can't get a shield between me and it. It like penetrated my shield. And I'm talking about an energetic shield for those that aren't aware of that. But she was like, oh, how did this happen? And I told her. And she was like, okay, this is what this is. Do not Google that. But I'm going to remove it, but you cannot be investigating for a little while. You have to heal this because you do have a problem. And so it was like Epsom salt soaks and, full immersion and all the other stuff. And it was 2 or 3 weeks, but I called her back and I was like, I feel pretty good. What do you think? And she was like, I've never seen anybody heal this quickly. I said, well, I was motivated. I did Google that, and I did not want to maintain a vulnerability. But you can actually clear yourself if you know what it is. I just had no idea what had happened to me. And my friend Lee is very knowledgeable about those things. And helped me. I don't deal with negatives. I am part of the Dominion Ministry, which is a group of people who work with, as exorcists. I am not an exorcist. I have had to cleanse places, including my home, but and I can do that, but that's just because of the energy that I have, plus knowledge and guidance from other people when I needed the help. Thank you to Jennifer Malik. So, it was really interesting to experience that, and I try very hard not to experience it again because it's frustrating and it hurt.
Oh, yeah. And we're at our break again. So everyone, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with your questions in just a few minutes.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Kat Hobson. And Kat, we have another question for you. And this has to do with when you had Mark on. And April asked, how did you feel after your surprise reading from Mark from your grandma?
Okay, I am here. My mic keeps closing, but it was very, very strange. It took me by surprise, and my grandmother is the only person I haven't been able to actually communicate with. I felt like she was still angry because we were estranged. I was in Atlanta, and and she died. And I actually kind of ran away from her illness because it was the hardest thing I'd ever tried to cope with, and I didn't cope well. I had a lot of other things going on, and I just wasn't the best person that I could have been at the time but she and I had talked about it, and she knew. And so, but nobody knew how to get in touch with me. So, when I reached out to her, I just never could connect. And I think probably it was me blocking it, because I don't think that you carry that frustration with you when you go. And that's pretty much what he validated and said that she was there and coming forward. And she's done that with my friend Lori too. But I had to get to the point where I forgave myself for not being right there on the spot. And sometimes I still struggle. So that's why it took me aback. That's why it was so wonderful. That's why I appreciated him so much. And, he knew that. And, that was just very unexpected, but it was cool.
I know that I heard, when we were listening to that show, from my perspective, it was interesting hearing the readings for the other people.
Yes.
And afterwards having a message come to me from a family member who had gotten a reading. And I don't know if you knew this, but Sue's that was on there. Sue is Ron's cousin.
Okay.
And
I did not know.
So no. And because when you said, "Hey, can you find some people?" I was like, and then I found people. And so I was excited to hear hers. And then when it came on, afterwards, she's sending me messages telling me, that they were painting their porch, the right side of their porch, and some other things. And she's just hoping that it's right. That on the part about her family expanding this year, she's hoping that that's true. So, well, in the next, I think it said like the next couple years. So she's hoping that that's true. And so she was real excited to hear all that. So, but I knew that she would be a good sport regardless.
Yes.
And she really enjoys that kind of stuff. But it's fun listening to everybody else's, even if you don't know the outcome.
Yours was crazy. But I do want to let people know that my mic closed 3 times when I was trying to answer that question. And I opened it, saw my meters moving. I knew I had it open, was talking, looked down, and it was closed. That happened 3 times when I was trying to answer that. So, April, thank you for asking. Apparently, that was more personal than I realized. Maybe I wasn't supposed to talk about it, but I think people need to know that our loved ones, you don't take hate and anger. Well, there was never hate, but she's probably pretty angry. But you don't take that with you. And, the people who are left behind in those situations are the ones who kind of stress about it. And we have to find a way to forgive ourselves so that we can be open to receiving those messages. Because as long as you're blocking it, you can't.
There are times when I wonder, does my mom even have time to come to me? Because so far I've only heard her voice. I haven't seen her. And I'm like, is there so much going on with my sisters that she just doesn't have time to come and see me? That kind of stuff. And because I don't know if she can split herself 3 ways. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
I will tell you, it was always strange. Every time I would go to visit my mom, my sister would come, or we'd be in the middle of talking, and my sister would call, and my mom would stop everything for my sister. And it's like, well, she is the one that's here. She's the one taking care of her, so, I let that go. But it always shocked me when I would be on the phone with my mom, and my sister would call in the middle of that conversation, and my mom goes, well, I have to go. Judy's calling now. I'm like, she lives a mile from you. I'm 800 miles away. You can't give me 5 more minutes? And so now I'm wondering if it's still the same, that Judy just needs her more.
Or maybe that was an important thing for your mom to feel.
It could be. Because, she knew that I only needed her because I needed her in my life. I didn't need her to do anything for me. I just needed her to be part of my life.
Right.
And I think in my sister's cases, they truly needed her.
And that's such a powerful draw. And it's not like a personal smackdown or anything. It's just that really is a powerful draw. To be needed is a very strong.
We all go through that.
The right word is right.
Well, we all go through that. There's times when we've had this discussion that sometimes I think that I'm the only person that can solve a problem, even if I'm not the only person that can solve the problem. In my brain, they came to me. I'm going to solve their problem. I'm the only one that can do it, and that's not the case.
Well, it's not. And I'm, 7 years older than you? 4 years older than you? I'm 50. I'm about to be 59. So
okay, so
it's
I'm 55. So
right, 4. I thought it was 4, but I wasn't positive. But for some reason, I had you at 52 all of a sudden. You're welcome. But
thank you.
It was just
me trying to convince everybody I'm 29.
There you go. That hasn't worked for 5 years.
I know.
But I think it's really important that people try to validate themselves by being the fixer.
Right.
Right? And it took me until about maybe 2 years ago to just say, you know what? Not my color Kool-Aid. I've been doing that, but I didn't do it often enough. And being able to just say, nope, this is not something I'm going to take on. That's all you. I hope it goes well. And if there's something truly that you need help with, as opposed to you just don't want to deal with it, I'm your girl. But you handle this. And I thought I was going to lose every friend I'd ever had that came to me. And I didn't. So it's not bad.
I know that my job is to try to save the world every day.
Absolutely.
I mean, in my real job. And that's what I do every day is I save somebody the frustration of whatever is going on in their work world. And sometimes I think that it needs to be my whole life, that I need to solve everything. And, I used to be the person that everybody came to for hurricanes when I worked at Sprint.
Right.
If you're known as Hurricane Denise, you know that you can solve almost any problem. They would bring me stuff and say, we don't know how to handle this. And I would become Sherlock Holmes. Like I said, it just depended upon what hat I had to wear that day. I just learned how to deal with all these things. But it made me super valuable in business. As far as other things goes, it doesn't make me super valuable. It just means I know a lot of stuff that nobody really needs to know about.
Well,
but I can probably solve your problem.
Yeah.
And the other problem is that I'm a Gemini. I see both sides of every argument.
Every argument. I'm a Scorpio.
And it's horrible.
I'm just always right.
Well,
And if I'm not, then believe me when I tell you I am. No.
I'm
not that bad.
people will say stuff. I share a birthday with our president.
I remember
And
that,
so a lot of
yes.
times when he talks about stuff, you can see that he sees multiple sides of an argument. The bad part is sometimes we're the same in this other way. You guys don't know this. You've probably never seen this in me before, but sometimes I don't know when to keep my mouth shut either.
You're kidding. I have never even thought that was a possibility with you.
Yeah, it used to be a lot worse, to where I would say stuff and people would kind of step away, like, what in the world did she just say? Corporate life has changed me a lot. I used to have zero tact, which was even worse.
You do have tact, somewhat.
Yes, I do. I have more than I used to, and believe me, I was the person that you did want around if your hair wasn't good. You wanted me to tell you that, but probably not the way I tell you.
Probably.
But that's just a few things that I've learned over my life. Like how you say you're Switzerland. On Facebook, you have no clue what I think.
Right.
Because of the fact that if I say exactly what I think, people are going to go, who in the heck is this person? She's not the Denise we know.
Well, and yet you are the Denise they know. They just don't pay attention to that side. You're very straightforward.
I try not to say anything that's going to irritate people for a long time.
Right.
I try not to take my side or how I feel I should. Let's see. I try not to be political, but there are times that I can't help it. I try not to be judgmental. And when I get judgmental, it's not usually about a person, it's about an activity.
Right.
And so there's usually no blame involved, just I don't like this. Like right now, I don't like riots. I don't like all the negative stuff. I'm not blaming anybody for it. It's just, I just don't like it.
And it just is such a great attention getter, right? And
it is.
Some of these people have been waiting since the 60s to have this moment again. And, I'm just those people kind of bend me a little bit out of shape because, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And people, as a society, should know that this kind of rhetoric and violence and stuff, the only people that's going to draw are other people who get their rocks off on this.
Yep.
Everyone else, everyone else is like, you know what? You're completely drowning out your message with your behavior. I can't even listen to you. I can't even hear you because your behavior is so loud.
Yeah, because there's a few things, I understand wanting to get a message out. I understand that. I want to get a message out. But I don't want to do it in a way that is going to harm someone else, which is what we're seeing.
Yes. Well, to celebrate the death of anyone, that's karma. That's going to kick your butt. And, it's just crazy. I grew up in Birmingham. I was born in 1961. So I was here coming of, noticing age when all of the stuff started happening here. I was stabbed by a girl in the 3rd grade because I reached over. She was holding the papers and wouldn't pass them back, and I just reached up and said, "Could you hand that to me?" And she turned around and stabbed me with her pencil. I got a stab in my lip, and I got a stab in my thigh, and the ink thing, the lead broke off in my leg, and it's still there. I mean, there's
the
always
graphite.
a reminder. Mm-hmm. And
that's strange. I got stabbed by a compass.
There you go. I mean, yeah.
In the 6th grade.
Yeah.
So,
but it was just an unruly time.
I was born in 1965, and in Baltimore at the time, let's see, about 68. 1968, we had the race riots.
Yep.
And it was, I mean, it's strange that I can say I remember it. I only remember it because there's some anecdotal stories that go along with that time that trained my family not to be racist.
Yep.
At the time.
And
that was important.
My dad was in the National Guard here. Okay. And his uncle was the sheriff of Jefferson County. My dad was almost court-martialed because he would not do what he was instructed to do. And it was, because our family had people from all over the world come and, have dinner with us. They would, I was exposed to everybody from every walk of life and every race and creed. And, my dad worked for Sears and Roebuck as well as being, a military person. And he had people that were friends from all over the nation. And I never knew the difference between anybody. And yet he found himself in a position that he had to make an active choice on what kind of human he was. And he chose correctly. Not many people could do that then. So I had a good role model.
I have to say I did not. That's all I'm going to say is I did not. But I did go to inner city schools.
Right.
And I was one of 3 white children that went to the schools.
Well, I did until the stabbing thing.
And mine was, it was before my dad was killed that this happened. And we lived at my grandfather's house with my mother. And my parents were separated already at this point. And we went to the school in downtown Baltimore. And my uncle went to the high school just down the road. And I was beat up every day walking home from school. And mostly to keep my sister from getting beat up.
Oh.
And the other kid, I don't remember the other kid, but I was in 3rd grade or 2nd grade, and Donna was in 1st grade. So, and I was just told that I was a bad person. I had the wrong kind of hair to be going to that school and all kinds of other stuff. I mean, it was ridiculous stuff. But when you think back on it now, but no, it was every day for about 3 months. I got beat up every day walking home from school. And my mother had no clue that it was happening until...
Why didn't you tell her?
Because I was ornery. Because I was brave. I was taking care of my sister. And when I did finally tell her, we were moving to Baltimore County. And when we got there, they were going to start a busing program to desegregate. They wanted to bus me back to the same school that I just came from. The principal's idea was, well, she already has friends there. My mother goes, no, she is not going back to that school because she was beat up every day. And I did not know about it until right before we were moving here. And April says we have no sound.
We're moving everywhere. Refresh.
Okay. Let me tell her that. But, and I told people all the time, I said, if anybody was going to be racist, it might have been me. But no, I did not blame a whole race for one person or a group of people. So, but that's it. But we're at a break. We're at our last break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Kat Hobson in just a couple minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight has been Kat Hobson. Well, Kat, when people need to find you, how can they find you?
Oh my gosh, there's so many ways. You could probably just yell out your window. But seriously, I've got WBHM-DB.com is the network's website. My show's website is paranormalexperienced.com. I am all over Facebook. I've started doing videos, and so there's Kat Hobson Productions. In fact, my friend Rick McCallum's book is out now, and I did the promotional video for that. He shared that today, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not even home to see it. But
I'll have to go look for that.
It is. It's on his page. And, fatemag.com, Fate Mag Radio is the Facebook page. And I'm just Kat Hobson on Facebook. So it's pretty easy to find me. I'm everywhere.
Yes, you are. So what does Kat have coming up?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm very excited because September 13th, when we get back from Labor Day, I have Ryan Sprague coming on with me. And he wrote his book, I think it was 2016, Somewhere in the Skies, which is people's experiences with ufology. And he has a podcast that grew from that by the same name. He has redone his book with additional information, and that is coming out, or it may already be out. I think it is. And so I just have grandbabies and babies, and my oldest grandson starts school at home.
Oh, no.
Tomorrow.
Oh.
It doesn't seem possible. He spent the weekend over here, and thank God I had so much fun with him. But, we're just a very blessed group of people, and I love what I do, so I'll just be doing it. You can find me doing it.
It doesn't seem possible that he's that old.
I know, right? And, well, he has a late birthday.
Pretty much known you. Yeah, well, I've pretty much known you his whole life.
Yes, you have. You have known me his whole life. You knew me when he was growing.
In the fertilizer.
Yeah.
Or being fertilized, I guess. Or not fertilized. Incubated. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
Not fertilized. He was already fertilized. It just seems like so long. So I'm going to ask you some questions now that might be helpful to people. How did you get to be the voice of Fate magazine?
I became the voice of Fate magazine because the producer at my old network disappeared. Just disappeared. 2 days before I was interviewing George Norrie, just so you know that, which was a panic episode. But I pulled it off. Not pretty, but I pulled it off. Started my own network, just so I would have places to broadcast my show and the shows of my friends that had been with the previous network. It turned out to be pretty okay. The first 2 weeks were rocky as all get out, but when I learned how to do it, it got better, and hopefully it's been improving since. I've done it for 2 years. Sometimes I have production issues because I am not a producer, and yet I play one on TV. So, you know, or on the radio. But I just love what I do. I love hosting my shows, and I love having the guests and learning from them. I love that, you know, my listeners have an opportunity to hear interesting and knowledgeable people. It's just so fantastic to be able to bring that to people. It's very cool because I get to learn, but I bring people on that journey too.
Well, I will say, when I get back, that show that I have on that Monday after Labor Day will be my 2-year anniversary with you.
Yep.
So it's funny how I can tell you all my time stuff based on when I go on vacation, but but we knew at the time that would be the best time to start, would be after a trip, not right before one. So, and I am so happy to be part of WBHM Digital Broadcasting, WBHM Digital Broadcasting. And I've been saying that for 2 years, and I never mess it up. And today I mess it up. But I am so happy to be part of your family.
Me too.
And I've loved talking to Shelley and getting to know her. And, you know, and I listen to your guests, and I enjoy what I hear. Not real big into aliens and Bigfoot, but I still try. And
that's why I do Fate. Oh,
I know.
I do Fate because the guy who ditched her and ditched me was the host of Fate magazine at that time. And so, you know, I told her that if she wanted me to be running some old shows or something, or if she wanted to have her show on my network, that she would be welcome to do that, and that I would do, you know, some promotion and stuff for her. And she called me one Sunday afternoon and said, I have been led by my spirit guides, and you are supposed to be the host of this show forever and ever. Amen. And I said, well, wow. You know, that's a nice afternoon thing. And so the rest has just been a learning curve for what she likes and what she wants to have happen. And she pretty much goes and does her thing. She was just on Coast to Coast on the 27th. She had the full 2 hour, the second half of the show, the whole half. And her name is Phyllis Galdi, and she is brilliant, and she is just a wonderful person. So I'm very blessed to know her.
If somebody hasn't heard of Fate magazine, how would you explain that to them?
It is the longest running, longest in production, anomalous magazine. You know, when it says Fate magazine, Tales of the Strange and Unusual, it is. And I'm always shocked to find out that somebody that I have just found randomly that I thought had an interesting story had an article appear in Fate magazine like 20, 30 years ago, or 6 months ago, or whatever. And to me, that's cool. Everybody who does Bigfoot, Stephen King grew up reading Fate magazine. And, I think that's kind of neat. It's a little scary where his mind went, but I think he's a genius, so we'll take that.
I like his stories.
I like his stories too. My very favorite one, I was just talking about it yesterday, is The Mist, which is actually in his collection of short stories. Mm-hmm. And so I think
mine
that's
is
cool.
Is 1408, which is in his collection of short stories.
Yep.
And so, and I like the Langoliers.
Oh, I haven't read that.
Yeah. I went through a phase where I was reading everything Stephen King. Even though I don't like blood and gore, I like the thriller, mystery, intrigue.
I like that.
Makes you think.
Yes.
And in that, one of those short stories was a guy, I don't remember which story it was, but it was in this book of short stories that had 1408 in it and the Langoliers. It was this guy who died while on the golf course, and he really wasn't dead. But he was going through, they didn't know he wasn't dead.
Oh.
And so he was actually taken to the morgue and all this other stuff. And so it was really strange. But I read all that about the time that the movie 1408 was coming out. And so that's the kind of stuff I like. I'm not, no Texas Chainsaw Massacre, blood and gore. I don't like that stuff. But I like the stuff that makes you think that this could happen. That's me.
Well,
but
yeah, it's like Cujo. Cujo could totally happen. And those kind of things are what keep me interested, because I went through a phase of Stephen King also, and it was actually a very strange time in my life. I was reading all of those things, and I had no idea that he was somebody who actually had a similar interest as far as his reading material and stuff as I did. But I love Fate magazine. I love being able to take them to cons when we start having them again. I'll have a couple of different issues new since the last time I saw people. And we have shirts and stuff now, and they can just, you can go to fatemag.com and you can see like archived magazines. I don't know how she still has them. She has them from years ago. And she knew, I had a guest on, Cheryl Costa, who had sent in a story a couple of years before. And we talked about it while she was on my show with me. And she said that she had submitted, but it hadn't been printed. And so I mentioned it to Phyllis like a week later or something. We were talking about something, and she was like, "Oh, the Johnny Appleseed story. Yes, I published that in da-da-da-da-da-da. Give me your snail mail." And she sent her 2 copies. Yeah.
Well, that was nice.
And, well, yes. That's the kind of person that is. And, the person that did the disappearing act and took all of the things that were needed to continue what was going on, passwords and such, should really be ashamed of themselves, because to my knowledge there hasn't been an apology. There was to me, but you don't do people that way. And they're back in business. They've started up another network, and they're going gangbusters, and did a GoFundMe to buy all the stuff that he had taken when he left, but somehow it had gotten away from him. So
things happen for a reason.
They do.
And maybe the reason was for Phyllis and you to get together.
Well, I think so. And I cherish that.
So,
and I'm almost through being mad at him.
Well,
it was hard. It was really hard, but because he's a very likable person. And this was like the 3rd time he had done that. And people, I asked the person who referred me to him, "Why didn't you tell me?" He's like, "Well, because you're always so hopeful that he's going to be great. He's got so much potential." And I'm like, "But you didn't even give me any kind of like a high sign or anything." Yeah. It would have been nice. But I don't talk about him. I don't say his name like when we talk like this. And,
no.
I'm not going to slam somebody who's genuinely out there trying to make the best of themselves. But
I thought he was nice too. So we all
he
thought
just has addiction issues.
Right, and that's a whole different problem. That's a whole different part of a personality that is, he's got his own ghosts.
Well, he's got his own demons.
Yeah. So he's got to figure it out. So, and
at
the
least
thing
he
is,
fights them.
Right. And like I said, I thought he was a great guy. I enjoyed talking to him on the phone. The one time I talked to him on the phone and thought that he was, so I didn't see it coming either. So
nobody did. No one at all.
But the good news is everything has worked out
beautifully
and with no face lost. At least not on our side, on our network, all perfect. And that shadow will be there with his name. That's it.
Well,
and
but I try not to. I genuinely do try to not say
I know
who, because if you're in there pitching, you deserve a chance.
I said, I'm not holding anything against him.
No.
I think, like I said, I still think he's a nice guy, and whatever happens. It's not a place.
Up.
Yeah, it's just not a place I'm going to go.
No.
It goes back to.
Right. It did get this network started. It did bring you and I back together.
Mm-hmm.
Shelley came to the network too, and now we have Full Spectrum on Thursdays as well. That's a great show. We're running through some, learning curves of getting to know each other's styles and stuff, but they do a great show. I'm very excited to have them with us. So we're growing by leaps and bounds.
Is
the
their
pace that I'm
show
comfortable
all
with.
the Full Spectrum show? Is that all video?
No, it's not video at all.
It isn't? So is it on the network at the same way all the other shows are?
It is. And
okay.
And it's on Thursdays from 7 to 9 Central.
Like I said, I heard the first show, and usually I'm so busy by Thursday just trying to catch up from all the stuff so I can be done for Friday that I hadn't been able to listen. But I will go back and check out the archives while we're on this trip. It's a good time to listen to that stuff because I can download it into my phone on the app, and I can listen to whatever I want to listen to.
Well, there is some funny, there's still some glitches that are happening because, like I said, we're training and we're learning. So, but I wouldn't trade them for anything either. They're awesome people. And, Pete has been my friend for several years. And I just met Brian and Angie. Angie does the Weird World News, and she has some good stuff in there. And so instead of doing a regular news broadcast, she is doing that. And so we're having to learn timings and things like that. I'm having to learn how to do it to meet the criteria for the National Association of Digital Broadcasters when it comes to a news break. Does this qualify? Apparently it does. And so, and I like
maybe
it.
Maybe she can record a few more in a week and we can use those instead of NPR.
I think that'd be fun. And I think she might like
I think
it. We'll
would
ask her.
I mean, why not? I mean, if she's willing and the shows are willing, I don't see why not. So, who knows? Or maybe she can do one and we can just reuse it for all the shows.
That would be fun.
So, well, you know what? We went over our time, but
It's
I don't
okay.
think my
We've got some
producer's
stuff
going
I've
to
gotta
care.
cut out of there.
So, but it's all good. Everybody,
It is.
thank you so much for listening tonight. We had fun talking to each other. Like I said, we don't get to really sit and talk to each other very much because usually I have a guest. But when I come back on, September,
14th.
I'm pulling up my calendar now. September 14th, I have Sean Austin coming on.
I love him.
And then on the 21st, I have Meg Fisher. And
Awesome.
on October 5th, I'll have a replay. So,
well, that's good.
I
That's
don't have
Brentley's 6th birthday.
Well, see, October 5th is the presentation here at our local library.
Yeah.
So, but see, it worked out. I wasn't going to be able to have a show anyway because Brentley's more important than Paranormal Pride.
Well, I'm sure that birthday party will be Sunday. But
well, it
you
doesn't
still want to see
matter.
them. Yeah.
So, but thank you, everyone. Please tune in next week for whatever replay Kat plays. I leave that up to her. I just let her pick. And I
never know what it's going to be either until I look at it and say, oh, this is what I'm in the mood for. I hope everybody else is.
Yeah, I just tell her to pick Mo. That's who I pick. I always pick Mo. And so I look forward to coming back for my second anniversary show with you. And
Me too.
we will have a great time. And thank you so much for filling in tonight. I appreciate it. And I know so does Dave. And we'll keep Dave Giuliano in our prayers until we find out what's going on. So hopefully we'll find out what's going on with him, and he'll be all good to go.
I hope so too. He's a wonderful human.
So, but thank you so much for filling in. Well, I want to thank everybody in the chats for coming. Brenda, welcome back. We've missed you. And April, thank you for your questions. Mark, Gary, Carl, Ron, Dara, Tom, thank you all for coming into the chat. And we wouldn't do the show if it wasn't for you. So thank you. Good night, all.
Good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experienced Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Kat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? You see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watched a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step, after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page, is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of, a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.